Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Michelle Morris, and I am with Consolidated Planning Group. We are a special needs planning firm located just outside of Houston, Texas, but we work all across the United States. So it doesn't matter what state you're in. If you have a loved one in your life with any kind of different need, this webinar can help you. Today, we're going to be talking about transitioning to adulthood. It's an exciting time. So, thank you all for being here with us. And thank you also to Hope for Three, not free. They are a great organization that helps provide support families of children with autism. So we are really happy that you're here and that you've shared your audience with us so that we can share information with them as well. So hello out there to Alondra and a big, huge thank you to folks at Hope for Three and what you all do. So a couple of items before we get started. We do record all of our webinars. And after today's presentation, we will email you a link to that recording. We will also email the slides to you. This presentation has some links in the slides, and all of those will be clickable when you get the slides later on today. The other thing I want you to know is that because we are in webinar mode, I cannot see you or hear you. But if you have any questions, please just put them in the chat box. And that is the easiest way for me to be able to present the information and also make sure I get all those questions and conversation bits. If you're not comfortable putting your question in front of all these people, or if you would reach out to me directly, we do have a way for you to do that. You can call or email me. You can also set up completely free initial consultation with Consolidated Planning Group. So let's jump into it. You know, families come to us because we are the experts in planning for special needs loved ones. It doesn't matter if it's a child or grandchild or niece or nephew or your own child. We can help your family with things like protection plans, protecting against those scary what ifs. What if you or the main breadwinner pass away, or the caregiver or the breadwinner? Where is that income or that care going to come from? And how can we protect your family against things like that? What about planning for the lifetime care of your loved one? Transition planning, that's what we're really focusing on today, and that's a big topic. We can help you with able accounts and special needs trusts and, finding an attorney to help you with the legal side of things, as well as understanding how the money needs to flow on the financial side of things. And we're here to advocate for you and to educate you. There are over 263,000 financial planners in the United States of America. And that is based on uh, the census, the Labor Bureau of Statistics, 263,000 financial advisors. But out of 263,000, fewer than 200, not 200,000, just 200 focus on special needs topics. And that is less than 0.1%. So if you feel frustrated, if you feel like you've got these questions that it's been just a pain to try to get answers to, or maybe you're hearing conflicting answers, that's because less than 0.1% of all the financial advisors in the United States truly understand the nuances of special needs planning. So not only are we parents of individuals with different needs, we also take the time to really get into the educational side of this, where we are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy. We are chartered special needs consultants, and we're members of we are Social Security certified advisors. So we take our education even further beyond the fact that we're parents and we live this with our own children. and that we're experts in the community. So let's talk about tips for launching your child into adulthood. Now, I did receive some questions when people registered. So I have some questions already that I'm going to be getting to. Again, also, if you have questions as I'm talking, please feel free to put those into the chat box. So first thing I want to talk about is really all about, having realistic expectations for your loved one. When we're thinking about what happens after high school, there are a lot of options. Not every child graduates from high school and immediately goes to a college or university setting and spends 4 years there getting a 4 year degree and then goes on to maybe another few more years for an advanced degree. That's just not reality for everyone. And it doesn't matter whether or not your child has a special need or a disability. Any child, they're all different. Our children all have different paths. And I love that we are living in a time period where going to a trade school or going to a community college or maybe, getting a certificate program, something like that is becoming more and more widely acceptable. And, societal beliefs are kind of shifting in that we understand that college is not for everybody. So we think it's very, very important that you consider, first of all, understand your child's diagnosis. How does that impact them in terms of their strengths and obstacles that might be in their path? um, Understanding those strengths and challenges are really going to go far in helping them determine, what is that next step after high school is over. You don't want them just to graduate to the couch, but there are a lot of options out there. Maybe a non-traditional path is right for your loved one. Just keep an open mind and think about various activities as they're 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. Do they want their driver's license right away? Do they want to delay that a little bit, perhaps? I am finding that many more people of this upcoming generation do go ahead and put off getting their driver's license for whatever reason. Um, what about, like I said, trade school or community college? There are fantastic programs out there. There's the Texas Workforce Commission. They have a vocational rehab. There are other vocational options out there for our loved ones, companies that will help them kind of test out different workplace environments and see what might be a good fit for them and help them get hooked up with an employer who might be a little bit more patient and willing to work with our loved ones. There are registered apprenticeships through the United States government. Maybe they do want to go to college. They can live at home and go to college or go live on campus with supports or without. Maybe they want to take one or two courses to begin with instead of jumping in with a full load. You can do that. But the main thing that we want to, focus on for you is don't compare your child to everyone else. Facebook makes it easy to compare. We look at what our neighbors and family members are doing, and we would love for our kids all to hit the same timelines and the same milestones all at once, but they never do. It's kind of like when I cook popcorn on the stove still, because that's my favorite snack, and that's the way my grandpa taught me to do it. We make it on the stove. But even though I put all of those kernels into the same pan on the same burner with the same oil and the same heat level, none of them ever pop exactly at the same time. And that's like our children. None of them are going to do everything exactly on the same timeline. Some kernels of popcorn pop very early, and that's when my dog comes running because he knows he's going to get a snack. And then most of the popcorn kernels pop kind of in the middle. And then there's some stragglers that pop later and some kernels that never pop at all. And that's totally fine. I'm not comparing each one to another. It just is what it is. So you have to work with your children where they are, just like a little kernel of popcorn. So finding a good fit for your loved one might be looking at different schools and colleges. What schools offer the educational uh, programs that your child is interested in? What schools and colleges offer a good office for disability? You know, almost every college has an office of disability, but none of them are created equal. You might find a school with a fantastic office of disability who has a robust, fantastic program to help our loved ones. And you're going to find other colleges and schools that don't, or, maybe they don't offer program that your child wants, or maybe they're too far away or too close by or too expensive. There are a lot of options. Think about your loved one's extracurricular activities. What do they really love doing and spending their time with? Is that something that could be viewed as an educational experience or a work experience? If they, for example, if they love dogs and they love pets and their extracurricular activities revolve around volunteering at an animal shelter. Maybe they could find an educational opportunity that has to do with animals or veterinarian business or working at the zoo or something like that. Um, when it comes to career path, you want to think about what they like doing, what their functional abilities look like, their ability to concentrate, and help your loved one find a career path that is going to be a good mixture of jobs that are hiring and are going to make some good money, jobs that fit their natural talents and their interests, and then the work setting. That's always very important to think of too. If your child is somebody who really hates to sit still and is not um, good at just being in one place and doing the same thing all the time and all of that, then maybe it would be better for them to find a work situation or a work setting where they're able to get up and move around, or maybe there's a little bit more activity going on. Or on the flip side, if your child is one of those who needs headphones to kind of block out distractions and additional noise, or maybe, they just prefer to work by themselves and not have a big group of people. Finding a work setting that fits that is going to be important. Don't allow your loved one to think, I want to work with money, so I'm going to work in a bank and I'm going to love it. But then they're also the kind of people who would not be able to sit at a computer all day in a quiet banking environment. You see what I'm saying? Is that you have to fit the career path and the work setting with who you're working with and making sure it's a good fit for them. So, thinking about accommodations, there are accommodations available both in school settings, even college settings, and there are accommodations available in the work setting. So, when your child is ready, if they're going to take an ACT or SAT exam, if they're going to do the AP courses or maybe a college course or even graduate level exams, you can have accommodations for those. What you're going to need to do is check with the company that provides those testing services like Praxis or College Bound or, whatever company you're using. Find out what their requirements are and get that information beforehand and be prepared. Just like everything, we kind of have to be the squeaky wheel for our loved ones. So determine what accommodations your child is going to need to be able to take that test and let them know why, and make sure that you have any um, any documentation, sorry, any documentation that those companies are going to want. They might require some updated testing. We always recommend that you have testing updated about every 3 to 5 years. Now, when your child goes away to school, and they're above age 18, you're going to need what is called the FERPA form. A FERPA is a form that you need to fill this out with your loved one. You both need to sign, and this is going to allow the school to share some of their information with you. For example, maybe you want information about your child's attendance or their academic scores, their grades. Maybe you want information about their scholarship or admission standards or anything like that. You know, if your child is over age 18, it's the same with the doctor's office. The schools, the doctors, they don't want to talk to you as much once your child is an adult. So fill out a FERPA form to allow the school to be able to talk to you about your child. Also, you might want to go ahead and get a healthcare power of attorney or a general power of attorney for your loved one or both. And this, again, it goes for children who are neurotypical as well as our neurodiverse population. Because if your 19-year-old goes away to college, my son went away to Chicago. What if he gets hit by an L train or something like that? I need to know, and I need that doctor's office or the hospital in Chicago to be able to know to call me. So we do have healthcare power of attorneys on our children, even the ones who do not have disabilities. Now, when it comes to the workplace, there are also accommodations. The workplace is required to provide an accommodation as long as it does not pose an undue hardship to the employer. So, what would that be? I mean, maybe yes, of course, the employer should and would be required to install handrails or grab bars or maybe even a ramp. Can you expect an employer to move their entire headquarters because it's not in a one-story building? No, that doesn't make any sense. Can you require an employer to install an elevator in a multi-story building? Probably not. But you can check the Department of Labor website. The links are on the bottom of this page and the Job Accommodation Network and find out, what are reasonable accommodations in the workplace and what can you ask for or your loved one, what can they ask for when they go out into the workplace? I want to remind you and encourage you to put your questions and comments in the chat box. So here is a list. Because we are based in Texas, most of these educational options beyond high school are here in Texas. However, there are programs like this all across the country. Programs like the VAST Academy offered by Houston Community College. There's a metamorphosis program through Lynn University. Maybe Aggie Achieve or Aggie or PATHS program at Texas A&M. All of these different schools, we don't work for them, they don't work for us. This is just a list of programs that we know of where they help students like ours who have differences and who need more support. And again, there are schools all across the country that have programs like these. One great website to go to find a school that might be more accommodating for your loved one is called thinkcollege.net. I'm really not good at typing and talking at the same time, but I want to get this into the chat box for you. So thinkcollege.net. This website offers a database of school programs that are meant for students with differences. And you can search by what educational programs are offered, what degree programs there are. Is it a 2-year or a 4-year, or are there options? Where is the college located? What do their campus living arrangements look like? There are a lot of options that you can search for through thinkcollege.net. There are also some great programs like this one through Bloom Consulting. This one is called Campus Connections. I know of another program available, and there are several programs like this. The other one that I'm thinking is called Canopy College Consulting, maybe. You might want to Google that one. These are programs where your child goes away to college, and Bloom or Canopy College Consulting, they can help with Zoom meetings. It can be virtual encouragement and support for your loved ones, or sometimes even in-person support. They use a wraparound planning process where they kind of build a support team for your loved one. Each student gets a connections coach in this campus connections program, and that coach can provide mentoring and guidance and navigational support as it relates to, you know, living on a college campus. It helps with problem solving, greater self-advocacy, informed decision making. This particular program, the contact information is listed at the bottom of the slide. This particular program does cost about $1,000 a month, and it is private pay. Now, sometimes if you are going through the VR program, the Texas Workforce Commission program, they can help you pay for this. I'm not sure if they help pay for other similar programs, but you should definitely check into this possibility. If you think that you want your loved one to go to college and possibly live on campus, there are fantastic supports out there for them. You don't have to go it alone. So, thinking about the broader topic of special needs planning, what if college is not going to be an option for your loved one? And you need to think more about putting together enough money for your loved one to be taken care of after you're gone. Maybe getting a job isn't right for them. There are options, but when you're thinking about long-term special needs planning, what you really need to think about is, there's a big difference between a special needs planner, that's what we do at Consolidated Planning Group, versus a special needs focused attorney. Now, they're going to be able to review and draft documents, legal documents for you that would focus on things like guardianship, power of attorney, your will, and a special needs trust. It's very important that you have an attorney who understands these things, not just one who, maybe a real estate attorney who has their licensing so they can technically do this stuff, but they've never done it before. That is not your person. You need an expert who truly knows what they're doing so that they don't mess this up. There's nothing more important than your children. So you have to get this right. Work with a team of experts. You might already have a great doctor, a great psychologist, you know, the great school team that you have. Maybe you have supports through neighbors and friends and family members who are going to help be your circle of trust. But you need a team of experts that are going to help you plan for the future. Gather up the documents and think about what you already have in place. What retirement planning have you done for yourself? What about life insurance and investments? What about those legal things and the special needs benefits like SSI, Medicaid, SSDI, Medicare, the ABLE account? Are you on the waiver program waiting list? There's a lot that goes into special needs planning. So you need to kind of start by thinking about what do you have in place? Let's talk a little bit about the letter of intent. This is a document that will help somebody if you pass away tomorrow unexpectedly and you're gone. How is somebody going to take care of your loved one? A letter of intent will give you the opportunity to put some of these things in writing. What do you want for your child, for their future? Who are their caregivers going to be? What do you have in place for them? What spiritual beliefs do they have? What hobbies do they love? What would really throw them off if they're having a great day? What would ruin it? Or if they're having a terrible day, how do you turn that around? The letter of intent is meant for you to think about the future for your loved one and put it down on paper as much as possible so that if you're gone, someone can step in and help raise your child the way that you would want them to be raised. And then finally, when you're thinking of special needs planning, think about your vision of the future. What do you want your future to look like, and what do you want your loved one's future to look like? Developing a plan now is our advice. Start right away. It does not matter how old your child is. The sooner you start planning, the longer runway you have, the longer time frame you're able to make smaller changes that are going to have a big impact. Whereas if you wait until you're older and time is passing, you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to make big decisions quickly. And it's always easier to plan when you have the option of taking your time, gathering up information, and making an informed decision at your leisure. So think about these things. How much do you need to fund your special needs trust for your loved one, or their special needs trust, I should say? One of the options that we help you with is a future cost of care estimate, where we look at, after you're gone, how much money does your child need from the end of your life to the end of their life to be taken care of? Most financial advisors only plan to the end of their client's life. And when you, as the client, have been through your earning years, you've been through your retirement, and you eventually pass away, that plan is over. For us at Consolidated Planning Group, we want to plan to the end of your child's life. We feel like while you are here on earth, taking care of your child is kind of part of your budget. It's kind of what mom and dads do. And we work that into your financial plan. When you pass away, if you could have a certain amount of money that's going to go into that special needs trust, we can help show you that your child will be taken care of. Social Security benefits are huge and are going to be very, very important for your family. We don't anticipate any major changes to Social Security right now. And, we're following the rules as we know them to be right now. But did you know that when you, as a parent, turn on your Social Security retirement, your individual with a disability is going to be able to draw benefits based on your work history if they cannot work. And it does not take away from any of the benefits that you get. This is a totally separate benefit. So sometimes it makes a lot of sense for the parents of an individual to turn on their Social Security retirement benefits earlier than anticipated. We can do a maximization exercise that would tell you exactly when and how the process works to get the most for your family. And then we also want you to think about what is going to happen to your child when you're gone. Do you prefer that they stay with a loved one who is going to be able to help you take care of that child? Are you sure that that loved one is going to be willing and capable? Are you sure that that loved one is still going to be there once you're gone? What about a residential community? If you would like for your child to move to some sort of residential community, of course, those can be expensive. So you need to be planning ahead for those costs. You also want to plan ahead to make sure that if a residential community is what you want for your loved one, you tour those. You might need to get yourself on a waiting list. And you definitely want to make sure that your individual is well acquainted with this residential community so that when the time comes that they move there, it's not, a whole big ordeal. If they offer some kind of day program or visiting time periods, and you can go, maybe they offer a summer camp so your child can get used to this community, that would be a great option. So how are you going to pay for all of this? We just talked about these residential communities, and some of them can be between $3,000 and $5,000 a month to house your child. So what does that look like? First of all, we want to make sure that you preserve eligibility for the state and federally funded programs like SSI and Medicaid. Quick question in the chat box. Yes, we will share these slides and a recording of this webinar when we're finished. So don't worry about it if you have to run. Okay, so how do I make sure that my child is going to be eligible for these state and federally funded programs? Well, it's very important that you understand what eligibility criteria they're looking for and you follow those rules. For example, did you know that for Medicaid and SSI, your child is not allowed to have more than $2,000 in their name? That means in a bank account, any investment accounts, anything like that. Even a life insurance policy that your child owns can cause trouble for their benefits. They can have money saved in two places that will not impact these benefits. That would be a special needs trust or an ABLE account. You definitely want a special needs trust and you want this to be set up before you die. So if you happen to have a crystal ball, you can put off forming your special needs trust and don't worry about it if you know exactly when you're going to pass away. Now, if you're like the majority of us and you don't have any idea when your time is going to come, we suggest that you at minimum have a special needs trust written into your will. Speak with a qualified attorney, but it's something like you can say in your will that a special needs trust would be formed upon your death, and any assets that are currently your life insurance or in XYZ brokerage account or whatever assets you want to go to the special needs trust, you can put that all in your will. You could also have a standalone special needs trust that could be funded right now. Um, all of those assets, like I said, can flow tax-free for the most part to your heirs and into their special needs trust upon your death. The other place that your loved one can have money would be an ABLE account. You might have heard of a 529 college savings plan. This is very, very similar. That's a 529C, C for college. A 529A is the ABLE account. Now, for the ABLE account, this is meant for an individual with a disability, as long as you have proof that the disability began before age 26. Now, in January, that number is going to change. It's going to be age 46. So if you're just finding out about this and maybe your loved one is 30 years old, just wait until January and we can help you with an ABLE account. For 2025, unfortunately, I have not updated this slide. I'm sorry. For 2025, you can contribute $19,000 to the ABLE account and an additional $15,560 if your child is working. They can only put in the additional amount can only be how much they earn at work. You never ever want your ABLE account to go above $100,000 because that is the point where Medicaid would stop providing services. So special needs trust and ABLE account, these two vehicles work very well together because the ABLE account Again, you can only put a certain amount of money into it. We see that as a short-term, easily accessible savings account for your loved one. It does earn income, and that income is not taxed. Whereas with the special needs trust, you can put in as much money as you want. Um, but we see that more as long term for when mom and dad pass away, your child can use the money in the ABLE account. I mean, in the special needs trust. So a little more about the ABLE account. Again, we can set you up with one of these if you want. We do not charge to do that for you. The beneficiary is actually the account owner. There is an income earned because the funds in the ABLE account go to purchase mutual funds and electronically traded funds. And as those earn income, the income is not taxed. Now, in some states, they do offer state income tax deductions based on money going into the ABLE account. But here in Texas, you can't get that because in Texas, there is no state income tax. So they can't give you a break on their state income taxes. Um, Now, there is a Medicaid reimbursement clause. And, we are trying to work with the lawmakers and get some of these rules and regulations changed. But for right now, there is a Medicaid reimbursement clause that states that in most states, if there is money left over in the ABLE account after your child has passed away, Medicaid can come back and claim reimbursement. Now, people have different feelings and different thoughts about that. Some people don't want Medicaid to get any of their money. Some people say, well, gosh, Medicaid has provided so many services and so much help to my family. They've probably given us 200, $300,000 over the years, and now my child has 5,000 left in their ABLE account that Medicaid might be able to get. I would happily turn that over. So you might have a different feeling about Medicaid claiming reimbursement. All you have to do is, keep in mind that that rule is a thing. And if you don't want Medicaid to get that money, spend it. If you don't care, then that's fine too. There are limits on what you can use the money on. I, Really, though, the limit on what you can use the money for the ABLE account is that it must be used for something that will help your special needs loved one achieve a better living experience. It can be computer, car, clothing, housing, legal services, educational expenses, a vacation, medical expenses, really anything for your loved one. Just make sure that you stick to those limits. You don't have more than 19,000 put into it per year, and it never goes above 100,000 total. Now, with the special needs trust, there are more limits on what you can use it for. However, there are no limits on how much you can put in. Once you, as the parent, passes away and your child is no longer on SSI benefits, the special needs trust restrictions are pretty much lifted in terms of what it can be used on. So you can ask us about that, of course. Also, guardianship. So this slide talks about special needs trust and guardianship because these are things that you need an attorney to set up for you. They're going to do all the paperwork. Now, at Consolidated Planning Group, we handle the money side of things. So the attorney will set up the paperwork that forms the special needs trust. We will help you determine how much money needs to go in there and how you're going to fund it. Again, the special needs trust does not count against their asset limits. So it's very, very good tool for your loved one. Now, guardianship basically, in a nutshell, takes away your loved one's rights of being an adult under the eyes of the law. So when you turn 18 years old, you suddenly are able to vote and drive and sign a contract and get married and purchase a house and all of those wonderful things that adulthood brings you as a citizen in the United States. What guardianship does basically is it tells the courts that your child is never going to be able to have all of those rights and responsibilities of adulthood. You are going to remain their guardian, and they are going to remain in the eyes of the law as if they were a minor. They cannot drive, they cannot vote, sign contracts, get married, um, purchase a house, none of that stuff. Again, people have mixed feelings about guardianship, and one solution is not right for everybody. There are alternatives, maybe a lesser alternative like supported decision making or just a power of attorney is enough for your family. If you do want to talk about guardianship, talk to an attorney, and you can start that process when you're within 6 months of your child's 18th birthday. Okay, so let's say your child has finished with high school, they've graduated, maybe they're in a program, an 18 plus program at school for a few years, but that only goes to about age 21 or 22 in most cases. So what happens next? Maybe, you as a parent, you still have to work, so you can't be with your child all day, every day, and they're not in school. Here's a listing of some great transition and residential programs. All throughout Texas, these programs, again, are all throughout the United States. Um, Transition and residential programs, some might call them ISS, individual support services, or they used to be called day hab programs. But these can be a really good way to make sure that your loved one isn't just sitting on the couch all day long. They're getting out, they're enjoying the community, they're making friends, maybe even working at a small job that these companies can help your loved one find. I know that at some of these larger communities like Brookwood, they have classes where they teach the kids how to do stuff, or maybe they're teaching to help them prepare for a job. Maybe they're teaching them, you know, daily living skills. Anything that you can get your child into is beneficial. And then again, think about, is there a residential community that is attached to this transition program? For example, Reach Unlimited, they have a great program for transition. They also offer housing. So if your child is already familiar with Reach through their transition programming and then move into housing with Reach, it makes things a little bit easier for their transition. Now, each one of these should be a link. If you are looking at this slide maybe later on today and the link does not go where you think it should, or if it doesn't work, please feel free to send me a quick note so I can fix that. And we do have a question from Sharon in the chat box. So she says, if you and the special needs child move to a different state after guardianship is established, does the guardianship paperwork have to be redone in the new state? Yes, you definitely would want at least to update it to make sure that you're following the rules and regulations of the new state that you're in. Um, it might not be that you have to start over from scratch, but you definitely want a special needs focused attorney to take a look at that for you and make sure everything is going to transfer. So we at Consolidated Planning Group, we talk about transition, we talk about all of these great topics, and we do webinars 2 or 3 times a week. You can use this link to check out our upcoming webinars and see if there's anything that interests you. You can register ahead of time, and then that way you're going to get a reminder that the webinar is coming up. And if you can't make it, you're still going to get the link to the recording and those slides. So please go check out our upcoming webinars, register for anything that is interesting to you, and definitely share our information with anyone else you know of who might benefit from any of these topics. So going through some of these things that you should be keeping on your radar, developing that comprehensive special needs care plan. Again, the earlier you get started with that, the better off you're going to be. You have more time to discuss with your family members before anything happens while you are still young and of sound mind, and you can still take care of your loved one. You want to be thinking about the future and what those details look like. One of those future details to consider is how much money does your loved one need? How much is their care going to cost? Not just what does it cost right now, because you're not using it right now, but what is their care going to cost in 20 or 30 years? And if they need a residential community for 20 or 30 years, how much is it going to cost then? And how can we help make sure that money will be there? The Texas waiver programs. If you are in this webinar talking about transitioning your child to adulthood, I'm thinking many of your children might be in that 16 to 19-year-old range. And hopefully you're already on the waiting list for the waiver programs. If you are not, or you aren't sure, you can go to yourtexasbenefits.com. You can create an account for your child and register for the waiting lists on that website. If you're already registered, you can check and see where they are on the waiting lists and what place in line they are. So that's a really great website for everybody to check out. SSI and SSDI, these are two very different programs, even though they sound so familiar, so alike. They're very different programs through the Social Security Administration. SSI typically starts when your child turns 18, because prior to age 18, they're going to look at mom and dad's assets and income. And if you are making too much money or you have more than $2,000, one car, and one house, then all of a sudden you don't qualify because you make too much. People often get really confused there because they say, of course, my child is disabled. They need these benefits. Well, when your loved one turns 18, the Social Security Administration is going to look at their assets and their income and no longer the parents. And at that point, they should qualify for SSI benefits. That comes along with Medicaid. And then later on in life, when you as the parent turn on your Social Security benefits, whether it be because you become disabled, because you retire and turn on your retirement, or because you pass away, at any of those trigger events, your child could start drawing off of your Social Security record, especially if they can't work for themselves. The ABLE account, again, we've talked about that today, and the Special Needs Trust, both places that your loved one can have money saving up. You want to make sure that beneficiary designations are correct. If you or any other loved one accidentally leaves money straight to your child, it could create a lot of problems with their other benefits, and they could be denied benefits. So please double check your beneficiaries. Do not leave anything to your special needs child straight up. Now, I'm not saying write them out of your will and don't leave them anything. I'm saying leave it to them correctly, and that would be by putting it into the special needs trust. If child support is a thing in your life, you have an extra consideration. That is that if child support goes beyond age 18, that would be considered income to your loved one, and you need to have that redirected into a first party special needs trust. So again, start touring those residential communities. Think about what is going to happen after high school and after you are gone, and how guardianship or alternatives to guardianship might fit into your life. Now, this is our team at Consolidated Planning Group. We are a small independent firm. When you call us, you're literally calling our cell phones. You're not calling a giant company where nobody knows who you are. We are here to help you, to work with you. And all four financial advisors work together as a group. I have one more slide, and then I'm going to go into the questions that I received earlier today. We do offer a completely free initial consultation. This is over Zoom. It's usually between 30 to 45 minutes, and we answer any questions you have. We meet with you and learn about you and your family. And then we'll talk about how we work and what specifically we do and what we charge for our services. Our services can range from free to thousands of dollars, depending on your specific circumstance. So if someone tells you it costs X amount of money to work with Consolidated Planning Group, that might not be the most accurate information because we view everybody as different, and you might have a different circumstance than that person who is giving you that information. So go ahead, you can use the QR code, or you can call or email the office. Or you can call or email me directly and I can set up your initial consultation. So while we look at this screen and I give you a chance to write down the contact info, I want to get to some of these questions we got before the meeting. Okay, so Michelle wanted any info related to teens. Michelle, I'm hoping you found something useful in this webinar. And if you have more specific questions, please go ahead and schedule your consultation and we'll get those answered for you. Getting ready for college. Sharon, I would suggest that you start looking at thinkcollege.net. Start thinking about which schools are going to be best. And we also have a webinar that is specifically focused on college planning. So you might want to check out our YouTube channel. If you click this red box with the white arrow, that will take you to the YouTube channel and you can find that webinar where we get more into the specifics of planning for college. Or schedule your consultation. How come ASD looks so different from young age to teens? Well, that's just the nature of humans, really. It's not specific to autism spectrum disorder or any other diagnosis. It is not specific to male children or female children or all children are different and they change and grow and evolve. And as your family changes and grows and evolves, you need to kind of keep aware of that and make sure that you're meeting your child's needs at any level that they're at. Job options. Okay, job options. This is from Charla. We talked about the Texas Workforce Commission. There's also a group called Project Search. These two different programs, and there are many, many others out there, can help your individual find and hold a job. Maybe they'll train them to be able to keep a job and recognize some of their weaknesses in the workforce. They can also help identify strengths and where your child is going to find a great work environment. Now, a tip to anybody who is not in Texas, every state has a vocational rehab program. So go ahead and Google your state vocational rehab or rehabilitation programs and see what's available. This person also was asking for care options and social options. Charlotte, there is so much available for your loved one. And as an expert in the community, we do keep listings of residential options and social options and summer camps and all of that stuff that we do share with our clients. And we do share many of those through our free webinars. So you don't necessarily have to become a client to get that information. Just spend some time watching our webinars. Here's a good question. This one's a little bit more specific. Elizabeth wants to know, my son lost his SSI because I did not transition him to adult. Can that really happen? what might be happening here is if your child is changing from SSI as a minor to SSI on their own merit as an adult. I think that might be the time frame you're talking about. So, as a minor, again, the Social Security Administration is looking at the parents' assets and income. When your child turns 18, you might need to reapply based on the child's assets and income. Now, the good news is that you are not going to have to wait so long because they've already determined that your child has a disability under the eyes of Social Security. That's one of the things that takes them a long time to get those services started in the first place. All you're really going to need to do is to show that your child is not working, or if they are working, they're going to need to see pay stubs. And they're also going to want to see your child's bank account information to make sure that they don't have more than $2,000 in their name. What exactly, this question is from Marilyn. What exactly does your company offer in the way of helping families transition our 17-year-old to adulthood? What we offer at Consolidated Planning Group is kind of a to-do list and a roadmap. Where do you need to go? Where do you need to start? What programs and benefits are available to your loved one? How much money are they going to need, and how do you set that aside for them? All of that kind of stuff we help you focus on. We even talk to you about, what forms you're going to need, what paperwork your children need to get signed up for the benefits, all of that kind of stuff. What types of guardianship are available in Texas? I think we've kind of covered guardianship. There's also supported decision making, partial guardianship in some cases, and then the power of attorneys. Again, if you check our YouTube channel, we have done webinars with attorneys that focus on guardianship. The last question that I have in advance is, when do I have to start to get him benefits? Well, there are some things like the waiver waiting list that you should do immediately. As soon as you find out that your loved one might have any kind of disability, you can put them on the wait list for the waiver programs. The other programs such as SSI, that really can't help you until your child is 18, unless your family qualifies by having low income and low assets. The benefits, the workforce commission, they can start at about age 14. So there are different benefits that come along at different times in your child's life. The question here in the chat box, Sharon wants to know if the child is on SSDI, does that $2,000 limit still apply? And yes, it does, Sharon. The reason is because the $2,000 limit applies to Medicaid. And even if your child is on SSDI, once they're on that for 2 years, they're going to be on Medicare. They're still going to have Medicaid as long as you've got that set up before SSDI and Medicare. But the important thing to remember, Sharon, is those waiver programs, because you have to be able to qualify for Medicaid, and Medicaid has that $2,000 limit in order to get the waiver program benefits. And that would be huge. Things like transportation, medications, dental work, minor home modifications. The waiver programs can even pay for housing for our loved ones. So it is super important that we make sure they remain eligible for the waiver programs. Marlene, we do have webinars that explain SSI in greater detail. Again, if you schedule a consultation, I would be happy to walk you through those rules and regulations. We do ask everyone who attends, we're going to be calling you, I'm sorry, to ask if you want to schedule this free consultation. So you might as well just go ahead and schedule with us. I promise we don't bite. We do ask for a little bit of information before you walk into the consultation just so that we know what we're getting into before it starts. But we take care of that all prior to the meeting, and then we're able to devote our full attention to getting you the answers you're looking for. So schedule your consult, follow us on our YouTube channel, our Facebook. We even have a podcast for you. I hope I've been helpful today and that I do get to hear from you soon because we truly are here to help. Thank you very much. One last question. We do not speak Spanish, unfortunately. However, if you would like to bring a translator, or an interpreter to your consultation, we definitely welcome that. So thank you all very much for being with me here today. You'll receive an email a little bit later from us, and we will be reaching out to make sure all of your questions were answered. I hope you have a fantastic day and enjoy the rest of your week. Tomorrow's Friday, so we'll talk soon. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.